executive director of Young Voters. You believe that a contract is more important than a person's word.
Well, I think...
No, it's okay if you change your mind after being here for a few minutes. Change your mind. This is about evolving, so go ahead.
No, I wouldn't necessarily say that a contract is more important than people's words, but I do think that in the modern world, there is something that, for example, I took an Uber over here to the studio from Washington, and I had no clue who the Uber driver was, and I think on a daily life, and interacting with services like Airbnb and all of the different types of things available to us in the sharing economy, yet there is a level of trust that technology brings, and that generally that people's words, you know, in the means of technology and also through contracts or whatnot, we've been able to secure a world where we do trust. I think I'd like to think at least interacting with strangers on the street more so at least through different platforms than we would in the past. So generally, you know, the world we live in today, if you look at the aggregate statistics, is less violent. We live in the most free and prosperous times, and I think contracts have a part to do with that.
Well, I think you're bringing up an interesting point because, and for better or for worse, things like Uber, Lyft, Airbnb have eliminated the need for the word because there never is any. You get on the app, request your Uber, that's a contract. There's no need for the word.
Instruments where we know we're going to exploit them and take advantage of them, and then we put senior citizens sometimes in these reverse mortgages where they end up losing their homes, and they end up in some convalescent homes. Institutions and banks and sports agents who represents athletes and entertainers, robbing them blind. They give them this oath, they have them pay their bills, and they're also paying their bills too. I mean, all this goes back to trust, and what it does, it creates a ripple effect across society.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, harkening back to the nature of contracts is that this is where, at least I'm a believer in technology, that building institutions, especially when we're dealing with people, strangers we don't trust, with businesses, really looking at things like Yelp reviews, Google reviews, etc., to try to build out trust. But also going to Devin's point, I think there's an important part, even in our modern society, we cannot forget about civil society and all of families, of churches, of institutions. You know, I'm the executive director of a nonprofit, Young Voices, and so I deal with a lot of different philanthropists and interest groups on a daily basis. And I think it's important that we need to remember that even as as technology evolves, etc., there still is a fundamental role for the family, for churches, for civil society to play a role in kind of navigating these modern challenges.
I mean, just to piggyback off of what you were saying, Casey, I really think that human connection and human bonds are the most important form of contracts, because really your word should be your contract. And in a world where we're becoming more and more bound by these, you know, sort of technological or whatever contract type deals, it's important to have, as Devin was saying, like a support system in place, even if it's your friends. I have some friends that I would trust my life with, and I know they feel the same way. And that really is something that cannot be replaced, I don't think, by technology or by some sort of binding contract.